Hi, this is Roy with Mathmergency, and today I'll be showing you how to solve equations using your TI-89 calculator. We'll look at solving regular equations. We'll also look at solving equations with repeating solutions, also equations with complex solutions. Finally, we'll wrap it up by showing you how to solve equations and find intersections of functions. So solving equations using your TI-89 is really not too hard. You'll notice on your home screen that you have the F2 up here for algebra. So we press F2, and the first one we have is solve, and that's the one we're going to use to solve any equations that we need to solve. So press 1 or enter, and after the parenthesis there's two things you need to enter into the calculator, and you do it in this order. The first thing you enter is the equation. Since you want to solve something, it has to be an equation. So in this case, we'll pick something easy. X squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. You have to have an equal sign in there. That's what makes it an equation. After you enter your equation, comma, and the variable that you're solving for. So in this case, x is what we're solving for, so I'll press x, close parenthesis, and when you hit enter, it will give you all of the solutions to that particular equation. Since this is a quadratic, we have two solutions, and the calculator tells us correctly that they are -2 and 1 respectively. So that's pretty simple. You can solve many equations using that. Some equations that you have, though, have repeating solutions. If you're taking trigonometry, you know this well. Calculus, you know this as well, too. So when you enter an equation that you expect to have repeating solutions, let's see what that would look like. So again, F2 solve. The first thing we want to put in is our equation, which, let's do something easy, and we'll do sine x equals 0. Okay, we've entered our equation, so comma, the variable we're solving for is x, and we'll close parenthesis. Press enter, and you'll see it says x equals at n1 times pi. And what this means is you can replace this at n1, this means any number, or excuse me, any multiple of pi. So typically in your textbooks, or your professor might write it on the board as n pi or k pi. Those are what I'm familiar with. Whatever your professor uses will fit in here as well. And this number 1 here, this just increases every time. So if we were to solve the equation again, you would see it says at n2 pi still. Just replace this at n2 with just n pi or k pi, whatever you're used to, whatever you're familiar with, and that's what that means. So sine x equals 0 at multiples of pi. The TI-89 will also solve functions whose solutions are complex numbers, so obviously numbers that have the imaginary number I. And let's enter an equation that has complex solutions. Do F2 solve again. Our equation this time will be x squared plus x plus 2 equals 0. Don't forget equals 0. Comma, we're solving for x, close parenthesis. Now you notice when we press enter, we get an answer of false. This could mean one of two things. One, there's nothing that solves this equation. Or two, there's no real number that solves this equation. In this case, it's the second, that there's no real number that solves this equation. So the way we can get around that is, instead of solve, we put in csolve, like this. So you can just type C in front of the solve if you want, which I find the easiest. Or if you want to retype everything again, or you're starting from scratch, you can find the csolve function under the algebra menu, F2, and you're going to want to go down until you see complex, which is option A, which opens up another menu, and the first one there is csolve. And csolve has the same. You use csolve the same way you use solve. So the first thing you put in is your equation, comma, the variable you're solving for, and hit enter. Now you'll notice that it gives us our imaginary solutions. And you'll see it spills off the screen, so you'll just come up and hit to the right there, and you can get both of your answers. You know, customarily we're used to writing -1/2 plus or minus root 7i over 2, but it won't combine them. It'll actually give you the two separate answers. One other way that, a tip you can use when using the solver is when you're at the y = screen and you're going to graph a couple of functions, in this case 3x and x squared. We'll look at the graph of them. You know, you might be doing this in calculus if you're looking for areas between curves. In algebra, perhaps you're used to doing this so you can find out or get an idea where two functions intersect. You could use the F5 intersection function, but when there's more than one, that could be pretty tedious to do. So actually what you can do is you have your functions already in the y = screen. Just know which ones you want. In this case, we have y1 and y2. And back at the home screen, you can F2 solve, and you can actually type in y1 parenthesis x equals y2 x in parentheses. And that's a valid equation. We've put 3x in for y1, we put x squared in for y2. So essentially this is telling the 89 to solve 3x equals x squared. So for solve, the next thing we need is comma, the variable, in this case x, close parenthesis, and hit enter. And it gives us all the places where these two functions intersect. In this case, they intersect at x = 0 and 3. So that's pretty handy, especially when you have more complex functions that may intersect in 3, 4, 5 places. The 89 will give you all of them quite handily. So that concludes this video. If you have any questions or you want to see other videos, feel free to leave a comment. Please rate, or you can email us at videos@mathmergency.com.